Can I just say that if you're going to do well, you need to pay off your student loans and any debts that you actually have. I think we need to remember that, right? Those are liabilities that you have that you need to pay off in order to do well. And all you're really doing is you're looking at all of the things that have higher interest rates than what you can get on the positive side and pay those things off. And generally, you just basically go and you just start paying them off. That's it, right? And the reason why you do that is because those are always going to be taking money off of your income that you have. And I just don't really understand why people want to keep these things around for so long. It's kind of consistent. I think it's the norm just to keep student loans without paying them off. And I know it requires sacrifice. That's what I'm saying, is that you need to take steps to sacrifice. But man, it is incredibly crazy that people still have student loans. And they sort of see them as some sort of requirement, but you don't need student loans. If your education is going to cost you significant student loans, just don't do it. I don't understand why that is something that people, wouldn't even consider. I think even if you got into some highfalutin school that is super well recognized, you could still just do as good by going to a well-known state institution that everybody knows and go that route with very few loans. And then after that, paying them off, you just got to sit there and pay them off, which means that you have to do things that you don't necessarily think is going to be fun, but it just pays off so much in the long run in a lot of different ways, right? You don't understand how emotional that is when you pay off your student loans. I remember when my wife and I paid off ours. It was such an emotional experience. It was almost like a religious experience when that happened. You just feel so relieved because it's just following you around. To me, I always felt guilty from it. And it just kind of follows you around. Now, we pretty much paid off our student loans as quickly as we possibly can. We're just putting huge chunks of money on it by living below our means at the beginning of my career. So we paid off my wife's student loans first when I was doing my PhD, and after that we paid off my student loans. And that took about a couple years, I believe, of when I was finished. And that's what we did. We just put those suckers, we just paid them off. So they're no longer weighing on us. And, we tried to make sure that those things didn't get that big, but they still got big. Bigger than I would like, but tiny compared to what most people have. And they still they weighed on you, right? So I think it's super important to remind everybody just to pay those things off, not to get student loans in the first place. And that's the thing, if I said, if you can afford it, almost everybody can afford not to get student loans. The tuition at most state institutions is pretty darn low, or you can find some that are really good that are pretty darn low, and just go for those if you can't do it. And yes, that means you can't get into some highfalutin school. Well, so be it, right? Like, that's the life that you're gonna have. And you have to realize that the school doesn't make what's gonna happen to you in terms of, where you're going, and it's you that makes it happen. And the key thing is, I realize this, right? Like, the schools have the resources for somebody that's spectacular. And the thing is that the people that are completely spectacular, they just don't choose to do that. Go to those schools because that they think that, that there's some sort of magical thing that's going to happen if you go to a highfalutin school, right? Like, that's the expectation. And, frankly, nothing really happens. That's different. It's the person that actually makes it happen. And, it just blows my mind that people will sit there and have student loans, when they are clearly, financially not a great thing to have for a long time, but also like spiritually and emotionally, like there's a lot of feelings that you get that are associated with student loans. And when you get rid of them, you'll just like look at the world a different way. And I hope that you're listening to this. I hope that you're like not pursuing any particular student loans, but then as well, like thinking about how to pay those things off as quickly as you can. It will pay off such huge dividends for the future. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.